Calm yourself, my dear. Let's get you face up. Face up, I said. Can you at least stop twitching? I don't think I can achieve anything more. Is Sir Lathan not down here? Did he not follow? Okay, you got Song of Pellinore. Have I looked at this? Because there seems to be a lot of books down here. I'm not sure if they're entirely relevant. Well, they do seem to be relevant, but it might just be backgroundy stuff. I'll still read it. This is the reading session of Let's Play Oblivion, it seems. The Song of Pellinore, Volume 4, on His Deeds. Editor's note, Volumes 1 to 6 are taken from the so-called Riemann manuscript located in the Imperial Library. It is a transcription of older fragments collected by an unknown scholar of the early Second Era. Beyond this, little is known of the original sources of these fragments, some of which appear to be from the same period, perhaps even from the same manuscript, but, as no scholarly consensus yet exists on dating these 6 fragments, no opinions will be offered here. Pellinore drove the sorcerer armies past the Niben, claiming all the eastern lands for the rebellion of the Paravania, and Cain had to send her rain to wash the blood from the villages and forts that no longer flew Ayleid banners. For the armies of men needed to make camps of them as they went forward, and he broke the doors open for the prisoners of the Vartash, with the slave queen flying on Morihaus above them, and men called her Al-Esh for the first time. He entered the gate to win back the hands of the 1,000 strong of Sidor, a tribe now unknown but famous in those days, which the Ayleids had stolen in the night. 2,000 hands that he brought back in a wagon made of demon bone, whose wheels trailed the sound of women when ill at heart. And after the first pogrom, which consolidated the northern holdings for the men of Crith, he stood with white hair gone brown with elf blood at the bridge of Helden, where Perif's falconers had sent for the Nords, and they, looking at him, said that Shor had returned, but he spat at their feet for profaning that name. He led them anyway into the heart of the hinterland west, to drive the Ayleids inward, towards the Tower of White Gold, a slow retreating circle that could not understand the power of man's sudden liberty, and what fury idea that brought. His mace crushed the thundernacks that Umaril sent as harriers on the rebellion's long march back south and east, and carried Morihaus, breath of Cain, to Zuathas, the clever-cutting man, a need with a Keptu name, for healing when the bull had fallen to a volley of birdbeaks. And, of course, at the Council of Skiffs, where all of Paravania's armies and all of the Nords shook with fear at the storming of White Gold, so much so that the Al-Esh herself counselled delay. Pellinore grew furious, and made names of Umaril, and made names of what cowards he thought he saw around him, and then made for the tower by himself, for Pellinore often acted without thought. Right, so we've got a series of doors here. Great Chapel Morris, that's out again. En route. Is there anything? Trials of Saint Alicia. I'm wondering if I should be continually reading, but I think I'll keep reading. Akatosh made a covenant with Alicia in those days so long ago. He gathered the tangled skeins of Oblivion and knit them fast with the bloody sinews of his heart, and gave them to Alicia, saying, "This shall be my token to you, that so long as your blood and oath hold true, yet so shall my blood and oath be true to you. This token shall be the amulet of kings, and the covenant shall be made between us. For I am the king of spirits, and you are the queen of mortals. As you shall stand witness for all mortal flesh, so shall I stand witness for all immortal spirits. And Akatosh drew from his breast a burning handful of his heart's blood, and he gave it unto Alicia's hand, saying, This shall also be a token to you of our joined blood and pledged faith. So long as you and your descendants shall wear the amulet of kings, then shall this dragon fire burn, an eternal flame, as a sign to all men and gods of our faithfulness. So long as the dragon fires shall burn, to you, and to all generations, I swear that my heart's blood shall hold fast the gates of oblivion. So long as the blood of the dragon runs strong in her rulers, the glory of the empire shall extend in unbroken years. But should the dragon fires fail, and should no heir of our joined blood wear the amulet of kings, then shall the empire descend into darkness, and the demon lords of misrule shall govern the land. From the liturgy of the rekindling of the dragon fires. Okay. Thought with it being of Alicia, it would have had more of a connection to the Knights of the Nine. But I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm not entirely sure why I'm doing this, because there's not the obvious reason to why did they attack this place is it's one of the temples of the Nine, so gods of worship. Song of Pellinore, volume 7? It was only 6. Okay, volume 7 on his battle with Umril and his dismemberment. Okay, I'm guessing this is modded in. Editor's note. This fragment comes from a manuscript recovered from the ruins of the Elysian Order's monastery at Lake Canulus, which dates to sometime prior to the War of Righteousness, First Era 2321. However, textual analysis suggests that this fragment actually preserves a very early form of the song, perhaps from the mid-6th century. And so after many battles with Umril's allies, where dead Aurorans lay like candlelight around the throne, the Pellinore became surrounded by the last Aelid Saucer kings and their demons, each one heavy with valiance. The white strake cracked the floor with his mace, and they withdrew, and he said, Bring me Umril, that called me out. And while mighty in his aspect and wicked, deathless golden Umril favoured ruin from afar over close combat, and so he tarried in the shadows of the White Tower before coming forth. More soldiers were sent against Pellinore to die, and yet they managed to pierce his armour with axes and arrows, for Umril had wrought each one by long valiance, which he had been hoarding since his first issue of Challenge. Presently the half-elf showed himself bathed in Meridian's light, and he listed his bloodline in the Aeliadun and spoke of his father, a god of the previous Kalpa's world river, and taking great delight in the heavy breathing of Pellinore, who had finally bled. And Umril was laid low, the angel face of his helm dented into an ugliness which made Pellinore laugh, and his unfeathered wings broken off with sword strokes delivered while Pellinore stood, frothing, above him insulting his ancestry and anyone else that took ship from old Elnefe, which angered the other elvish kings and drove them to a madness of their own, and they fell on him, speaking to their weapons, cutting the Pellinore into eighths while he roared in confusion, which even the Council of Skiffs could hear. They ran when Moore shook the whole of the tower with mighty bashing from his horns the next morning, and some were slain in overabundance in the taking, and men looked for more Aelids to kill, but Pellinore had left none save those kings and demons that had already begun to flee. It was Morihaus himself who found the White Strake's head, which the kings had left to prove their deeds, and they spoke, and Pellinore said things of regrets. But the rebellion had turned away, and more words were said between these immortals that even the Paravant would not deign to hear. Tempted to go back to the Imperial City, see if they've got the whole Song of Pellinore. We could read that in a session, and everyone could be bored. The Amulet of Kings, that's only tangentially related to what we're interested in. For the main quest, obviously, I think it's one of the major parts of it, so you're looking for it. Because it's gone missing? No. No, you find that to begin with, don't you? I can't... I don't know. I've watched bits of Let's Plays and I can't remember what it is. Right. Gods and Worship in Tamriel. Brother Hedgefeld is an associate scribe at the Imperial University Office of Introductory Studies. This is relevant because it's to do with the gods. So maybe there's a particular order as to how they're mentioned, and that's the order they're going for. I don't know. Gods are commonly judged upon their evidence of their interest in worldly matters. A central belief in the active participation of deities in mundane matters can be challenged by the reference to apparent apathy and indifference on the part of gods during times of plague or famine. From intervention in legendary quests to manifestations in common daily life, no pattern for the gods of Tamriel's activities is readily perceived. The concerns of gods, in many ways, may seem unrelated, or at best unconcerned with the daily trials of the mortal realm. Exceptions do exist, however. Many historical records and legends point to the direct intervention of one or more gods at times of great need. Many heroic tales recount blessings of the divinity bestowed upon heroic figures who worked or quested for the good of a deity or the deity's temple. Some of the more powerful artifacts in the known world were originally bestowed upon their owners through such reward. It has also been reported that priests of high ranking in their temples may, on occasion, call upon their deity for blessings or help in time of need. The exact nature of such contact and the blessings bestowed is given to much speculation, as the temples hold such associations secret and holy. This direct contact gives weight to the belief that the gods are aware of the mortal realm. In many circumstances, however, these same gods will do nothing in the face of suffering and death, seeming to feel no need to interfere. It is thus possible to conclude that we, as mortals, may not be capable of understanding more than a small fraction of the reasoning and logic such beings use. One defining characteristic of all gods and goddesses is their interest in worship and deeds. Deeds in the form of holy quests are just one of the many things that bring the attention of a deity. Deeds in everyday life, by conforming to the statutes and obligations of individual temples, are commonly supposed to please a deity. Performance of ceremony in a temple may also bring a deity's attention. Ceremonies vary according to the individual deity. The results are not always apparent, but sacrifice and offerings are usually required to have any hope of gaining a deity's attention. While direct intervention in daily temple life has been recorded, the exact nature of the presence of a god in daily mundane life is a subject of controversy. A traditional saying of the Wood Elves is that one man's miracle is another man's accident. While some gods are believed to take an active part in daily life, others are well known for their lack of interest in temporal affairs. It has been theorized that gods do in fact gain strength from such things as worship through praise, sacrifice, and deed. It may even be theorized that the number of worshippers a given deity has may reflect on its overall position among the other gods. This is my own conjecture, garnered from the apparent ability of the larger temples to attain blessings and assistance from their god with greater ease than smaller religious institutions. Someone's been reading Small Gods by Terry Pratchett. There are reports of the existence of spirits in our world that have the same capacity to use the actions and deeds of mortals to strengthen themselves as do the gods. The understanding of the exact nature of such creatures would allow us to understand with more clarity the connection between a deity and the deity's worshippers. The implication of the existence of such spirits leads to the speculation that these spirits may even be capable of raising themselves to the level of a god or goddess. Motusio, of the Imperial Seminary, has suggested that these spirits may be the remains of gods and goddesses who through time lost all or most of their following, reverting to their earliest, most basic form. Practitioners of the old ways say that there are no gods, just greater and lesser spirits. Perhaps it is possible for all three theories to be true. Thought it would have been more useful. Alas, wasting time. You're not twitching anymore. Good. Shizar and the Divines. I don't want to read more. Sub-curator of ancient theology and paleonumerology. Those for sure. Shizar's relation. Who is the position Shizar enjoys in Cyrodiilic worship is often misconstrued. Oh, he's. Okay, it's actually talking about Pellinore Whitestrake. So we will read this.